Hello and welcome to Modest Menagerie. My name's Dave and the colorful one in front of the camera is Lisa. Today we're trimming our aquarium plants, and when you have as many aquariums and as many plants as we do, this is no small undertaking. The time lapses you're watching were shot over the course of 3 days and represent several hours of difficult work, so why do we do this to ourselves? Because the alternative is actually a whole lot worse. If, like me, you're a product of the United States public education system, you probably saw a diagram something like this in one of your textbooks somewhere between 5th and 8th grade. You probably memorized the information that it contained long enough to pass a test and then moved on with your life. If, like me, however, you are a strange bird, you might just have turned it into an entire hobby. But why are we rehashing a middle school biology lecture? Because just under the surface of this subject is the secret life support system that makes aquariums possible at all, as well as the reason these plants are a fixture in every one of our tanks. Nitrogen is an extremely abundant element, making up 78% of the air we breathe, but our bodies can't do anything with it directly. Most nitrogen exists in the form of molecular dinitrogen, the gaseous stuff that we breathe. It's two nitrogen atoms bonded together, but that bond is extraordinarily strong and very difficult to break. This is why, despite taking in huge lungfuls of this stuff on a regular basis, you don't actually absorb any nitrogen from the air. And yet, your body is full of nitrogen. How did it get there? At the beginning of the cycle are symbiotic bacteria living in the root nodules of certain plants. These bacteria consume molecular dinitrogen from the atmosphere, break the nitrogen atoms apart, and attach a few hydrogen atoms to create a chemical called ammonia. Plants absorb ammonia through their roots, allowing them to uptake the nitrogen and do more complex chemistry with it. This is eventually how all of the nitrogen made it into your body. You ate a plant or a thing that ate a plant, and the plant got the nitrogen indirectly from the atmosphere. Ammonia is also produced as a byproduct of decay. As bacteria and fungi consume decaying matter, the nitrogen compounds in that matter are converted into ammonia. There are also bacteria which consume ammonia, converting it into nitrites. Other bacteria consume nitrites, convert them into nitrates, and still more bacteria consume nitrates and convert them back into the molecular dinitrogen found in the atmosphere. It's also important to note that ammonia is a common waste product excreted by living things. It's in urine, there's a bit of it in feces, and fish even excrete small amounts of ammonia directly from their gills as they metabolize. What's more, any waste products that you produce that do not directly contain ammonia will have any nitrogen contained within them converted into ammonia during the process of decay. It's also important to note that ammonia is very toxic to basically anything other than plants and bacteria evolved to consume it. This is why fish won't live very long in a bucket. They're continuously poisoning their own water supply. So we figured out how the nitrogen cycle applies to aquariums. Fish are constantly poisoning themselves with it. How can we use the nitrogen cycle to solve our problem? Well, we can add one of these handy little things to our aquariums, of course. Now, if you go to a pet shop and try to buy one of these, or if you're looking for them on Amazon, you're going to find them listed as filters. I'm going to refrain from using that word personally, because there is a much better, much more applicable word that describes what these things truly are. A bioreactor is a device or system that supports a biologically active environment, in our case, a culture of bacteria, that is used to carry out a chemical reaction, in this case, the conversion of ammonia into nitrites and nitrates. You remember that chain of bacteria responsible for converting ammonia back into atmospheric nitrogen? Well, it turns out that for creatures sensitive to ammonia, like fish and us, every step along that chain becomes less and less toxic. Ammonia is more toxic than nitrite by a factor of about 6. It's more toxic than nitrate by a factor of about 13,300. Now, actually finishing off the cycle and converting nitrates back into atmospheric nitrogen really only happens in anaerobic environments, places in the deep ocean or far underground where oxygen doesn't penetrate, so we can't really reproduce those circumstances in our fish tanks very easily. But we can grow a large colony of beneficial bacteria that convert all of the ammonia in our tank into nitrite, and then another bacterial colony that converts nitrite into nitrate, thus reducing the toxicity level in our tanks by a factor of over 13,000. This is as far as the standard aquarium setup goes. Nitrogen toxicity from here on out is typically handled with water changes. Dirty water is removed from the tank and replaced with clean water so as to dilute any toxic compounds found therein. But if we go back to the beginning of our discussion, plants eat ammonia, and it turns out they also eat nitrates. This gives us another way to remove toxic nitrogen compounds from the water. Rather than removing dirty water from the tank, we can encourage plants to grow and absorb nitrogen from the water, and then remove the new growth of those plants instead. This dramatically reduces the need for water changes in the average tank. Let's explore this concept further by examining my single most complicated aquarium. Okay, actually it's two aquariums, but it is one single water system. The problem this system exists to solve is that turtles are extremely messy and quite destructive. As you might imagine of such a large animal, turtles have large poop, and it tends to cause large ammonia spikes in the water every time they excrete. Adding to these complications, we can't grow plants in the same enclosure as the turtle because the turtle will eat or destroy all of them. We've tried. This is our solution. We place the turtle and a couple of large fish that eat the turtle's poop in a tank above a sump tank. Water is constantly pumped up into the turtle tank from the sump tank below, and as the water in the top tank reaches a certain water level set by a hidden pipe in the back corner, it overflows back into the sump tank beneath. This constant cycle of water from the top tank to the bottom and back again allows us to condition and treat the water in the bottom tank in ways that the conditions of the top tank would not allow. All of the water conditioning in this system happens in the lower tank, far away from the menacing jaws of Claudia. This bottom tank has multiple overflow bioreactors and a canister bioreactor between the bottom and top tank. The bottom tank has also been stocked with an extensive cleanup crew, fish that eat detritus directly out of the water stream, some that continuously vacuum the floor, a few specialty algae eaters, and no small number of snails to convert any organic matter into something these massive bacterial colonies can digest. It's also been absolutely crammed full of aquarium plants. We even utilize the water's surface to grow duckweed. Because aquarium plants can directly consume ammonia, this helps deal with the large spikes of ammonia created by the large animal living in the tank above. So how can you apply what you've learned here today to your aquarium? Well, first of all, I hope that you go out and pick up some plants. In addition to all of their nitrogen cycle benefits, they're also extremely beneficial for your fish in a number of other ways. They provide hiding spots, which are ideal for babies, shrimp, and even territorial fish getting away from one another for a minute. They oxygenate the water they're in and, conversely, remove CO2. And also, they're just plain pretty. I mean, if you're going to sit and watch these things as many hours a day as I do, you want them to be pretty, right? I also hope that a more thorough understanding of the nitrogen cycle as it applies to aquariums will help you to deal with nitrogen emergencies in the future. Understanding that this thing is a bioreactor and that bacteria are responsible for converting ammonia to nitrites, and then another bacteria converts nitrites to nitrates, will help you look at your aquarium kit test results and know what's going on in your tank better. It'll help you understand why you have to do water changes and how plants can help you reduce the frequency of those water changes. But mostly, I just hope that knowing about the delicate interplay of flora and fauna and microbes in these amazing artificial environments helps you appreciate them more deeply and thoroughly. Because an aquarium is not just a box of water, it's an entire ecosystem, even if it doesn't contain a single fish. And I think that's pretty awesome. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, visit us on Twitch or Facebook, and don't forget to have a look in the video description for references and further information. Once again, the disembodied voice is Dave, the colorful one on camera is Lisa, and thank you all for sharing in our modest menagerie. Take care.